Alright, what you see here is a Hampton Bay Redington 4 ceiling fan. I wanted to get one of these fans for a very long time as they are pretty big childhood fans for me. These fans were sold from about 2004 up until about 2010 in the United States. These replaced the Redington 3, which is basically the same thing as this, except it doesn't have pull chains and the switch housing hangs down a little bit more. Basically, it has a non-Hampton Bay Cameron type switch housing. And it has more of like a Hunter Studio Series switch housing. That's basically the best way to describe the differences between the two. This is the finish you find these in most often for the Redington 4. They came in white, with and without a spotlight. I'm pretty sure the spotlight one was just a replacement of the plain white one. So I'm guessing these were definitely sold in 2004, just weren't shown in the catalogs. I mean, even in 2006, 2007, they still showed the Redington 3 for the brushed steel finish and the white and brass one. So the white one with the glass shades and the antique brass one, which is just the version that my dad has, well, two of them, those ones might have been just sold for 2004. The antique brass one, I'm not too sure if they were sold in 2005 or not. But in 2005, they did replace the white version with the white version of these that has a spotlight, which a lot of people tend to go after more. But yeah, I really do like these fans, especially the Redington 3, seeing them in the catalogs. It was basically like the first contemporary looking fan that I saw as a kid that was being sold at the time. I mean, there was the Infinity, some other fans, but this and like the Windward 2 are like the two biggest childhood fans in terms of contemporary ones. Or they're both the first contemporary fan I saw, like at the store and such. But yeah, this fan specifically is from April of 2004, so it is a pretty early one. Now, these are Hampton Bay's better models back in the day. It's not a high quality fan without a question, but it's definitely one of their better performers. But yeah, back when we were replacing the Hampton Bay carriage on the living room, I was actually thinking about putting one of these up in there instead of the carriage house 2s. The only issue was that this was a bit more pricey than the carriage house 2, so we just went with that instead. But I definitely do feel like that this would have looked pretty neat in the living room at the old apartment with the rosewood blades facing down. But yeah. Definitely want to find a white version of these at some point. Definitely the antique brass one's a big one as well, since my dad has two of them. Well, I probably would rather get those two, but if I can't get them, I'll try to find an antique brass version. Like, well, a used one or a new in-box one, either or. The white version without the spotlight is definitely something I'd like to try to find as well. White and brass one, I see those pretty often on Marketplace, surprisingly. Well, I mean, those are sold for a decent amount of time as well. So, yeah. And it's the Hampton Bay logo. This fan did come with a downrod originally. However, I figured it'd be better just to flush mounted, since I've always thought these would have looked cool in my living room at the old place. So I figured maybe have it installed the way it would have been installed in there, which would have been flush mounted. Plus, the chains on this fan are pretty long, so I figured just to get them to fit in the frame and such, I figured maybe just have it flush mounted. Plus, I also did flush mount it at the fan storage to get on the shelf. Yeah, has gloss black blades on this side. The other side to rosewood. I honestly do like the rosewood side more, but I figured maybe show it with the black side first. And no matter how much I clean the lens, for some reason there's still like a bit of a glare to it. unfortunately. Let me shut off the lights around me. Does a pretty good job lining up the space, honestly. I mean, it's using the same lights that I use in the Hunter Infinity and the Panama, the Casablanca Panama 2 in my bedroom. The same type of LEDs that I would use in those. So yeah, let's go ahead and start off on no. And it does use these plastic Hampton Bay poles, which I figured I'd mention. Not the biggest fan of them, though I do prefer if it had just the regular metal ones. I think they would look better on this fan, but since that's what this came with, I figured I remember just keep it on it for originality. Now this was actually a fan I was supposed to test down here before I moved all the fans out of this area here, in terms of the collection wise. It's actually one of the fans I was going to test right away, but when the move happened, I kind of pushed it back and such. As I had other fans, I figured maybe that I'd test first, since I wasn't sure if I was going to be using the space anymore testing wise. But luckily, I'm still able to use it. Now one of the blade arms is out of clock. It's a bit upwards more. Not sure why, but I know why. It's because I had it laying around in my bedroom for a bit before I moved it to the storage unit. I know it's on the downward still, so I guess that blade might have got a bit out of alignment because of it. Now this fan I actually might have seen before buying it, because it was pretty close to an area where I would see one on the third floor of a 3-family home, and I haven't been by there. Well, I haven't seen that fan up there since, but I haven't seen the lights on in that space at nighttime, so I'm not sure if that exact fan is still there or if it's this exact one right here. At some point, once I go by there again, I'll put that in the description if it is this exact one. I know the one that was in that home had the black blades facing down. I just couldn't tell if it was a remote version or if it was this one. But the seller was actually pretty close to that spot anyway, so could be this exact one, or it could be just another one that was close by. But yeah, these were pretty popular back in the day when they were being sold. It was one of my favorite fans as a kid. Definitely is actually the fan that really got me into contemporary fans as a kid. There were some other ones that were older, like the Infinity, like some other contemporary looking fans, the Windwards. But like contemporary, that's like some traditional contemporary and such, like this one. It's like one of the first fans I saw as a kid, so it really got me into them and such. I always just found it to be a very cool looking fan. Fortunately, it's not the highest quality, but they're decent for what they are. I gotta say, it is pushing a decent amount of air on the low speed. And it has gotten a bit cooler since we're kind of exiting the fall time, going into winter. By the time you see this, it'll already be winter time. I do remember there was an install that I saw of these in the Home Depot catalogs in the 2001 catalog where it showed the Redington 3 in like a bathroom, which I thought was a really cool install for one of these. But I wouldn't put one of these in the bathroom just because the finish would obviously rust up pretty easily. But I just thought it looked very cool in the bathroom. And like dark red walls of like wooden cabinets and such. Yeah. I mean, directly underneath it, it's actually For low speed, it's not a bad breeze underneath it. It's pretty quiet, which is nice. But yeah, the spotlight that's on it is kind of what inspired me to put up the 100 spotlight on my Panama in my bedroom instead of putting like a Casablanca version. I've always liked these type of spotlights more, the bullet ones. It's just a lot more childhood looking for me. Yeah, in many ways, I do wish that I had gotten one of these as a kid for the living room instead of the carriage house too. I know this definitely would have held up a lot better. It's just we just didn't have the money to afford one of these back then. Nowadays, it'd probably be something we could afford, but back then, we were definitely more tight on money and such. Still are, but to pay like almost 140 for one of these, I think that's what they retailed for. I know they weren't cheap, but they were a bit over $100, close to like 100. I know they're like at least 150 max. From in my area, they might have been cheaper in some other areas, but I know that these were they were definitely 150, and that's because they came with the remote option as well, which made them a bit pricier. I really don't think they were 120. I feel like they were like more than that, or like 139.99. They were definitely one of the more expensive Hampton Bay models back then. Not sure if that was the same case with the ones that didn't have the spotlights on them, but could be. I explain why you see the white and brass one a lot more than the brushed steel one and the white version of these. And the antique brass one, they were only selling for like a year or two, which is why you don't really see those that often. All right, now for medium. It's definitely one thing I'm pretty happy about is with the lighting down here that I'm using, it's not creating like a big glare in the center of it like it was with the Hampton Bay Windward 2 and the brushed steel finish. Something I was a bit worried about with this fan, but I think it was just more the body shape of the Windward caused it to do that. Where it made it look more like it was brushed nickel rather than brushed steel. A lot of people think it's the same thing, but there's definitely a difference. Only downside with this finish is that it does scratch up a lot easier than brushed nickel. I say definitely it's pushing a good breeze on medium. I mean, I've tested these before at my dad's place, and the two white and brass ones I tested when picking up the Hunter right at Homes with Brandon a while back. But testing one like more up close on my own time, not like a quick test. So it's like when I tested the ones at my dad's place, I definitely got to get a decent test out of them. But those ones are a lot higher up, so it was also a bit harder to really feel a strong breeze close up to it and such. definitely is moving good here on medium speed. All right, now for the high speed. Yeah, there's definitely a fan I could see like in a lot of places back in the 2000s and such, like a hair salon. I've seen videos of these in grocery stores too, surprisingly. Restaurants, living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens. There's a lot of places I could see these installed in. Movie theaters or like home theaters, like basically like a movie theater room in a home and such. Gotta say though, for a quick connect fan, the air movement's really not that bad, honestly. It's not the best made fan, but the air movement on it's definitely a lot better than you'd think, considering it's a Hampton Bay fan. It's definitely not on the performance of the Windward, it's not even close, but I've tested worse fans from home centers. It's definitely one of the more decent ones that you can find there back in the day. At the same time, this is an earlier version from 2004, so the later ones were more likely a lot cheaper quality than this one. This was like back when Hampton Bay fans were still somewhat decent. And like around 2007-ish and such, they took it downhill and a dive in quality and such. Probably not enough to keep me like cool in the summer. I mean, I'm pretty sure these use like a 153 motor or like a 172. Definitely it's not a 188 motor in these. If I had a larger motor in it, it'd probably be a lot better performer. But actually, now I'm feeling it kicking in even more like a breeze. It's actually, especially from down here, it's definitely pretty decent for what it is. It's not like a landmark air movement and such. It's not as quiet Cameron 2 and such, but it's definitely one of the better Hampton Bay performers and such. Since it's cheaply made, so it's not really the most reliable fan. It's a fan I actually wouldn't mind installing somewhere just for the looks of it. But honestly, I prefer using something a lot better. It's definitely a fan. Had we gotten this for the living room back in 2008 versus the carriage house too, definitely would have enjoyed this a lot more. It was either like this, the Hampton Main Table, or the carriage house too that we were looking at. figured I'd just do the carriage house too, also just because it looked very simple looking. But this definitely would have been the best option out of the three if we had the money for it. Alright, now to spin down, and I'll show it in reverse. And that is the heater making noise in the background. It makes that noise usually either before or after it starts. Oh, it didn't start, which is a good thing. Yeah, now that it's getting colder out, we've been using the heat, so you will be hearing that sound sometimes in the background of the videos. Although I try to get it, like, and not film it with that sound in it, but since it was already more than halfway into the video, I just didn't bother starting it over. Or usually I'll like edit it out and like combine two videos without that sound, and it's just phone's been having some issues with like with space, so I've been needing to update it. So till then, it's just gonna be like that. But yeah, there's quite a few channels that did videos of these back in the day, and I'm just finishing the white one. I know Mo Hollow, he had a white one. Dan Newman ended up getting it. He ended up selling it in a fire sale a while back. I regret not getting that fan. I really do wish I had gotten it. Ended up getting the Hampton Bay Cameron 2 that Will used to have, the white one. I really do wish I had tried to get that white Redington 4. Well, someone ended up getting it. Didn't get scrapped, but since they don't show up that often, especially with the spotlights not being all yellowed, definitely is one I regret passing on. I know Max's channel did a video of this a while back, and I know there was like a channel that did, I think it was Zapping Hero, who did a video of these at a supermarket. And there was like a channel that did a video of one of these about blades running. I've always found it to be interesting that these fans have pretty long pull chains compared to like other residential fans in like a home center. But yeah, it's, for a fan that's kind of been tossed around a little bit since I've gotten it, like back and forth between here and the storage unit, it's definitely in pretty good shape still. Unfortunately, the bottom side of the black weights have gotten a little bit scratched. Luckily, you can't really see it unless you look really closely into it. It's like very light surface scratches, nothing major though. I mean, it's kind of the case of gloss waves. Usually, they'll get like that over time. All right, now show it in reverse. Now for medium. Now for high. I'm just noticing now it actually does have a bit of a hum on the high speed. Well, nothing major. Alright, and that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more videos to come.